from the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg. This is a special edition of Inside Government with Cedric Peterson.
To our audience here at home and around the world, you are now Inside Government. It's great to have you back in the program, everyone, as we are continuing in our series on fostering resilient crisis management, a project initiative that's taking place between the government of St. Martin and VNG International, who is undergoing the training with the government of St. Martin, making sure that we are a resilient nation when it comes to any type of disaster or crisis. In this edition of the program, we've invited a key stakeholder in this project as we are going through fostering resilient crisis management, the ESF group number 7. That's Emergency Support Group number 7, and they fall under the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. I have with me in this edition of the program, the lead trainer for ESF 7, Mr. Mark Schloss. Mark, it's great to have you in the program. I think this is the first time that we've had you as a guest, I believe.
Yep. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for the invitation. And so I'm very exciting to be here.
And it's great to have you, Mark, and it's great to see you once again. Mark, give us some insight for those that don't know you. I've had the privilege, of course, working with you over the years. But for those that might not know who you are, give us some insight into yourself, your educational background, and your professional background.
Okay. I'm an academic. I studied in the Netherlands, special education, and the last 13, 14 years, I'm living at St. Martin. I was a civil servant till last year. Last year I retired.
Okay.
And all the time I was working at the Ministry of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor till my retirement. But in that function as a policy advisor, I did a lot in disaster management. Okay. So, and that I did also when I was in Curacao working for the government and also for the foundation. I also was involved in disaster management. So that continued since 10-10-10. I was on the island. And I was always giving my support in the area of disaster management till today.
Okay. As team leader under ESF group number 7, can you describe your role there as a leader within the team?
I have two roles. If the ESF coordinator is not present for whatever reason, sickness, vacation, I will replace her as the ESF coordinator. That is one task. That I did the last years, still today. And my second task is to give training to the whole organization, the different levels within ESF 7. I give training in disaster management to all the pillars. We will get into what exactly ESF 7 is doing, and then you will see that we are giving training to the whole organization, and we do that also the whole year. It is
exactly
not a specific period, but now we are doing it the whole year.
Okay, so let's get into it. What are the primary responsibilities of Emergency Support Function Group number 7?
ESF 7 is, with one word, we are dealing with population care. Population care, we aim at the public, our general public, in general, the society. And ESF 7 consists of 5 pillars: shelters, mass care, that is distribution of relief goods. The third pillar is mandatory evacuation. The fourth is what we call MHPSS. It stands for mental health, psychosocial support. And the fifth is the protection of children. So those are the 5 pillars. and we are giving services in all those 5 pillars.
Okay. So within those 5 pillars, how did it or how those 5 pillars fit into the Fostering Resilient Crisis Management training project? Give us how that correlates and helps you to build how ESF 7 functions or responds in a crisis situation.
Okay. 2 things are, in my opinion, is very important. And you just mentioned a very key word concept, and that is resilience. Resilience, and I look at resilience in 2 ways. One specifically for the ESF group, our group, or all the other ESF groups, that they must organize themselves so that they are resilient. That is one part. But the other part that is also important is the part of the society.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can have an organization that is resilient, but if your residents are not resilient, they don't show it, then there is still a weakness.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
My focus is also we have those 2 groups, the disaster structure of St. Maarten and the general public. Each household of St. Maarten must work together to foster, to stimulate the resilience. And I think we will get further into it and what I mean with resilience, because resilience is how good can you handle the stresses, the impact of certain things. It can be a hurricane, it can be a tsunami, it can be an earthquake, whatever. And we have to deal with it. So that is on an effective and a successful way. So that is the key of resilience. And how is ESF 7 doing this? With our 5 pillars. Our 5 pillars must work together, and it depends a lot of what type of disaster or incident that we have
dealing
to
with.
deal with. Because it is not always that you have to use all the 5 pillars. But for sure, if we take as an example hurricane, for sure, shelters are key in it. To activate the shelters.
Right.
But if we look at COVID, there you see shelters that didn't play any role. It was giving food packages to the public, to vulnerable groups.
Before we get into the depth of what it is that you do with the respective key stakeholders, I want to get started first and foremost with how do you ensure effective communication and coordination between the different ESF groups during a crisis. So before we get to the community effect, let's look at the internal cooperation first and foremost. Yeah. So how do you ensure as ESF 7 effective communication and coordination between the different ESF groups that make up the EOC?
Okay. The EOC consists of 3 layers. The Prime Minister is the Commander-in-Chief. We have a National Disaster Coordinator, so that is on the highest level. The second level, that is more of the ESF coordinators. The coordinators, they coordinate all the efforts between them, but also they give feedback to their own ESF group. In the ESF group, we are talking about we analyze the information that is coming in. The data that is coming in, we analyze on facts, and then we make decisions, and then we plan for interventions. So every pillar has a coordinator. We have five pillars, and each pillar has a coordinator. And those coordinators feed back with the ESF7 coordinator. And the ESF7 coordinator is giving then the Prime Minister an up-to-date of the information and how everything is going with issues that ESF7 must deal with. So that is the line of communication. One specific function is very key in this, and that is the information management. The information manager with the ESF coordinator, they are channel the information in such a way that it is that the whole EOC can make use of it. So there is a specific channel to communicate between the ESF groups, but also between the different layers of our structure.
Okay. Looking at strategy, and it's not just within internal communications or internal organizational communication, but you do have a working relationship with various external agencies and organizations that help support you as an emergency support function group. What strategies are in place to help you foster that type of collaboration with the various agencies and organizations that you work with outside of the government apparatus?
What we do, all the coordinators of the 5 pillars, they have their own network. And during the whole year, they are busy strengthening their relationship with their key stakeholders.
Yeah.
Because the network of shelter can be totally different than the one of protection of children. So those 2 pillars, they have their own network. But one of the strategy is that they have to engage with their own stakeholders. So not because there is a hurricane season, we are going to engage. No, this is a whole year. The whole year you are busy with each other in each pillar to make it strong, to make strong networks. Because once we have to roll out, we know exactly what to expect from each other. So government and their key stakeholders.
So Martin, I'm having a conversation with lead trainer for Emergency Support Function Group number 7 under the EOC, Mr. Mark Schloss. Stay with us. We'll have a conversation continuing. We're going to get into more about the collaboration that ESF7 has with other key stakeholders outside of the government administration. And how does the ESF Group number 7 handle conflicts and disagreements? Coming up right after the break.
The Court of Guardianship would like to remind the public of St. Martin of some key steps to prepare your child for this hurricane season. This includes talking to your children about what might happen in case of a storm, talking to your children about what they can expect and listening to their concerns, stocking up on any supplies your children may need, such as formula milk and medication. If you are considering going to a shelter, pack snacks and entertainment for your children along with other necessities while staying at the shelter. In the aftermath of a disaster, parents or legal guardians might consider evacuating their children to another island. However, the option of evacuating your children should only be considered as a last resort. Being evacuated to another country will affect children's access to regular schooling and friends. Dangers of evacuating your children without being accompanied by parents may include abuse and neglect. Before you choose to evacuate your children unaccompanied by a parent or legal guardian, consider the following carefully. Ensure that the family or friends your children will stay with are people that you know and trust. Talk to your child or children about the possibility of evacuation. Listen to their concerns and answer their questions. You must also inform authorities and prepare several documents to evacuate your child or children unaccompanied, legally and safely. The court of guardianship should always be informed. They can help guide you and inform the relevant authorities in the country your children are being evacuated to. Parents or legal guardians are required to sign travel consent forms to allow their children to travel without them present. These forms need to be presented at the border control before departure. Once your children are evacuated or returned, make sure to keep the court of guardianship up to date. Regularly check in with your children to see how they are doing and feeling during the evacuation period. For more information, please contact the Court of Guardianship at 542-4110 or email us at report2cog@stmartingov.org.
During the hurricane season, patients with chronic long-term diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, and others who need to follow a specific diet are reminded to ensure that their hurricane kit includes 2 weeks of non-perishable foods that allow them to continue to follow their recommended diet. These patients should also have extra medication and medical supplies and continue to use them as prescribed by their house doctor or other treating physician during and after the hurricane. These items vary per patient, so patients should contact their doctor to find out what the most suitable foods for their conditions are. If you have a family member or a friend who takes prescribed medications or needs to follow a specific diet, call, text, or pass by them to make sure that they're prepared. This message has been brought to you by the Samarta Medical Center and the Department of Communication.
St. Martin, if you're just joining us, you're in tune to Inside Government, our special edition as we're talking about fostering resilient crisis management, the series that we are highlighting the training exercise that the government of St. Martin is undergoing alongside its key partner in this process, which is VNG International. And we hope that you're getting valued information on how you could incorporate some of the strategies that are being used within the government apparatus in the face of any crisis or disaster that we might encounter into your family planning as well. I'm having a conversation with Mark Schloss, the team trainer, the lead trainer at ESF 7. Mark, we left off talking about coordination and collaboration and how you cooperate with key stakeholders outside of the government administration in order to be able to effectively reach the community in the face of any crisis. How do you handle conflicts and disagreements among different ESF groups and even among your key stakeholders outside? Because crisis situations are very, very tense, high-stress situations. And we are talking about human beings dealing with this. How do you manage that as an ESF group, especially coming out of the history of the crises that we face, like Irma and the pandemic of COVID-19? Mm-hmm. Give us some examples.
In my trainings, and especially for staff members of ESF 7, I focus, and because ESF 7 is a smart bubble in the whole ESF structure, but it happens in all the ESF groups. And one thing is important: to work on the professionalism of each staff member. They have to understand what it means to be in an environment of, like disaster management. And It is not something that you do. There are a lot of the knowledge that you have to know. For instance, I focus on know what is exactly disaster management, disaster reduction management. That is one piece. You have to know something about humanitarian principles. So that's another piece. The third building stone is, for instance, know the St. Martin disaster structure, because we have an ESF structure. Other island countries, they have a totally different disaster structure. Know your disaster structure, and then know your unit also.
Yeah.
That is general information that I'm giving to all the persons that I train. And then you foster then a type of common ground that they know what they can expect when they interact with each other. And there's one important thing that serves as a guideline. With whatever happens, it can be very emotional, but we always have to adhere to this principle, this guideline, and that is, you can be strong on the content of the issue, but you must be soft on the relationship.
Absolutely.
So it is never it is personal. It is a job that you are doing. So the content, if you are in the intervention, you can be very strong in your argumentation, but it must never become in such a way that it affects the relationship between staff members and leave members.
Okay.
So there's no place for insult. There's no place for like that screaming, because then it becomes personal, and that you can be very hard. You become very strong in your argumentation, in your arguments, but soft on the relationship. It is never personal.
Absolutely. How does ESF 7 as a group prioritize its tasks and allocate resources during a crisis, and possibly using your past experience with Hurricane Irma and COVID-19, the pandemic?
It depends a lot. It depends a lot of the type of disaster.
Yeah.
With Irma, for instance, we know that the impact was big. If I look back in 2017, we were not prepared like we are now in 2024. We were focused in 2017 mainly on shelters,
Okay.
not on 4 other pillars, because they were not even developed. Let me be very clear. It was in 2017, they were not developed, but now the lessons learned from 2017 and COVID, we have those pillars now in place. We are still working on them. It's still a work in progress, but we made big strides. So it makes it has to do with the type of disaster. 2017 hurricane. We focus only on shelters. 2020 with COVID, we didn't need shelters. It was food. So another pillar is getting all the attention. Plus, also, for instance, protection of children, because they had a vulnerable group, so they were also a focus point. So it depends a lot about what type of disaster, and based on that, the core group of ESF7 consists of the ESF coordinator and the 5 coordinators of the pillars, plus the information manager, and we have other specialists also for ESF security, safety and security. And then in the meeting, we are going to analyze all the data that is coming in. And based on that, we are making the priorities. Which pillar will take the lead? Which other pillars are standby, or there is nothing at this moment that they have to do. But they always will be in a standby position. So that is how we are going to prioritize the actions based on the information that we are getting from EOC, from COPI, from all others, from all other ESF groups. One of the important information that we are using is also social media. Information about social media, what is happening outside. Especially, we are focused on the general public. So we must know what is happening in the communities. How do they perceive it? Because that will also be a key figure how we are going to give the relief.
And you're touching on the next subject that I wanted to get into in regard to technology and how it has played or how it plays a role in the emergency support function group number 7 and being able to carry out its tasks in the face of crisis. And of course, give us some insight into ESF7's take on overall the role technology can play or cannot play. Give us your view there as to how you view technology being able to enhance your ability to respond to a crisis.
I think technology is a tool, is a powerful tool that we can use. And I can give you an example of 2017. 2017, with Irma, internet was down. The first few days it was down. Nobody could communicate via internet. But 2 weeks later, we got Maria. Maria, we had also impact of Maria, but it didn't impact it in such a way that we didn't have internet. But ESF7 opened the shelters for Maria. And what was interesting with that, we were supported by the International Organization for Migration, IOM. So they came in and they helped us also in managing the shelter in the sense of they had an app that could assist us and that you could see on the website, you could see how many people were in the shelters. Real time. It was the first time ever on the global. You can Google. You can go to St. Martin, and you see on the map of St. Martin, you see each shelter that is open, and you see every hour, you see that the numbers are changing.
Impressive.
So real time. And that is a standard that I want that we on St. Martin on different level, that we have that type of standards also. That was beautiful. That they have an app that they can use. It's map. It is there. You can see it. You can see it. What is happening, and you see the increase and also the decrease of the persons in the shelters. So that is one of the powerful examples of making use of technology.
Okay. Mark, we have so much information that we would love to discuss with you, and we look forward to having future conversations, but we're running out of time, and I want to give you the opportunity to provide final words to the public of St. Martin, especially in light of the hurricane season that we deal with every 6 months out of the year, and of course continue to encourage people to look at how to foster resilient crisis management even within their own households, giving you the opportunity now to provide final words.
Okay, thank you, Cedric. I began with it and I will end also. Why and not focus only on the ESF group, on my group, because that is not the most important. The most important is the general public, each resident of St. Martin, each household of St. Martin. What is important is that they take into control, in their own control, that they check their house once or twice per year. How strong is my house where I'm living in? That is one. Have a family plan, because you don't know. We cannot focus only on hurricanes. We must have a family plan where we train also in case that we have to leave our home, that we know exactly where we are going and how we are going to do. And the third, have a survival bag. And I'm not saying that you have that it must be expensive. You have to build something for you, because you never know what can happen. And those are the three things that I'm stimulating everyone to do, because if every household has those things in place, we would very resilient society.
ESF7 lead trainer, Mr. Mark Schloss. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of this special edition of Inside Government and a part of our series on fostering resilient crisis management. Thank you for joining me.
Okay, you're welcome.
And to our radio listeners and television viewers, thank you for tuning in and being a part of our series. If you've missed this conversation with Mr. Mark Schloss, be sure to catch video on demand at the official portals of government information, facebook.com/SXMGOV. Be sure to subscribe to the official YouTube channel of the Government of St. Martin at youtube.com/Government of St. Martin. And for audio playback, be sure to tune into St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM throughout the course of the day. On behalf of my colleague, Mr. Mark Schloss of ESF7, and all of us here at the Department of Communication, I'm Cedric Peterson. Thanks so much for tuning in.